And I know I got to let you go very soon here, but I think it's important for us to kind of come full circle and talk about this last year because it's been a really trying year for everybody. I mean, there's been a pandemic and we're still in the middle of that. There's so much uncertainty where this is all going. We're not, seeing an end in sight at this point. But you're in a really unique position where you're dealing with that, plus going through a divorce you mentioned earlier, plus you have this huge company and you manage all these people that are working underneath you. I think it's like 60 or 60 some employees. The space you're in now that's empty and managing rent and four kids. And we could, there's a lot going on with you. And you're continuing to, you ended up pivoting and putting out a different book during that year. And oh my goodness. So you have some serious resilience. And I'm sure you've built that up over the years in your 17 years of entrepreneurship. But let's talk about that year and where you're at now. And I'm sure a lot of these health strategies you just went over were helping you through that time. And I know you're still going through that time, but take us through that year and what you've done to get through all of that, and I'm sure a lot more, and where you're at today.
2020 was the most brutal year of my life. And that is saying something. Uh, Not just because of the divorce, which was awful and so hard, but because of the company. I started this year with 60. I started last year with 60 employees, and I have 28. And that is the reality of owning a company built on events. I produced events, live events for people to meet up in person. And not only did I produce events, but also, like many people in the event space, you plan your events years, like at least a year, 18 months in advance. So we had events planned out, 2020 and beyond, that we've already paid deposits to, we've already, booked vendors. And when everything happened, it was like, you didn't get your money back. People didn't, I mean, it was devastating. We went from like, we're killing it, like so many people at the beginning of 2020, like, this is our year, 2020 vision, like, we're going to do it, to we're hemorrhaging millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. And I mean, God, the spring of 2020 was just every day waking up and like, okay, what are we doing? And how are we going to, and okay, and if what, like, oh my, just the most intense stress I've ever felt in my life. And I, I just kept thinking, I really did, kept thinking of the marathon. So when I ran my marathon in LA, it was 92 degrees. I thought I was going to die the entire time. And actually, because it was unseasonably crazy hot, people were dropping, which is a super messes with your head. And I hit mile 18 and I was just like, I don't have this. I do not. And how in the heck am I supposed to get to mile 26? And I was jogging so slow that like old ladies who are going to cheer for someone were like walking faster than me on the sidewalk. And I just kept thinking like, just one foot in front of the other. Just one foot in front of the other. If you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you are going to get to the finish line just one foot in front of the other. That's what 2020 felt like. Just keep showing up. I had a million coaching sessions with myself. If you just keep showing up, you will figure this out, but you can't figure this out in bed. And honestly, I got a lot of crap on the internet at the beginning of 2020 because I knew that I was not the only entrepreneur, the only parent, the only leader who could not hide, who could not pull the covers over their heads. Everybody was like, I'm just going to Netflix and, hang out till this is over. And I'm like, what a freaking privilege. Good for you. I am so glad that you get to chill. That is not something that many of us get to do. That is not something that our essential workers get to do right now. That is not something I fought desperately to keep jobs. That was the only thing I cared about in 2020, was keep people employed. And we didn't have to do our first round of layoffs until August. And I was devastated, devastated. And I had done everything that we could do, but you can't have an events company and have all these people who were there to produce live events, and you can't. So it was awful, and it was hard. And I do remember saying to myself, like, I think a lot of people, like, God, if you could just get to the end of this year, you're going to be so proud of yourself that you didn't quit. You're going to be so proud of yourself. And one of the things that I had people do last night in coaching was, I said, what were the four biggest emotions that you felt in 2020? And at least one of them that you write down has to be positive, and at least one has to be negative. And one of the words I wrote down was proud, because it was the hardest year of my life, but I'm still here and I'm still going. I'm still figuring it out. And I am so proud of our team. I am so freaking proud of our team, because I didn't do this by myself. We all, peed our pants for 9 months figuring out how to do, okay, we're going to switch and we're going to do virtual and we're going to sell product. And we threw everything at the wall to see what would stick, but we saved ourselves. And that's not something you can do in bed. It's not something you can do if you're not showing up. So it was a super hard year. And I'm feeling so good about this one. And not because, like, suddenly, the sky's raining money. We started to talk about this, and I didn't sort of give you this thought. You had asked about scarcity, when I was younger versus now. And definitely, I think in times of extreme stress, we revert back to a younger version of ourselves. I don't think like, oh, you just have all these problems that you haven't figured out. I think that you had things that happened to you at different ages in your life. And when the sort of negative coping mechanisms happen, I think oftentimes it's like the younger version of you, that happened to them. They learned this as a coping mechanism, and so this is what's coming out now. And when everything happened last year, my place that I reverted to was scarcity. Go, hustle, figure it out as fast as you can, do all the things. And it took me, I did a lot of therapy this last year to remind myself of what I believe. And what I believe is, I believe in abundance. I believe that God's going to take care of me. The universe is going to take care of me. I'm going to have faith that it will all work out as it's meant to. And me hustling and thinking like, oh, there's not enough money and I need to do more. That's not actually what attracts money and wealth and abundance to your life. So I am reminded of that as I ended last year and started this one, of like, it's all going to be great. It's all going to be great. I'm going to move forward in faith, and I'm going to sort of vibrate at that frequency and keep going on.